John Muir. John Muir. Focus question. What impact did John Muir have on nature in the United States? A passion for nature. Long ago, when settlers began colonizing what is now the western United States, many spoke about conquering nature, while indigenous peoples in the area had managed and protected the land for thousands of years. The settlers wanted to clear the land and use natural resources for houses, food, and clothing. John Muir was one of the few settlers who wanted to preserve nature. His passion for the natural world prompted him to live for years in remote cabins. It drew him to explore large areas of California on foot. It also took him to Alaska to California on foot. He also took him to Alaska and many other parts of the world. Muir's idea of untouched wilderness led to his desire to establish national parks. John Muir was an eloquent writer and speaker. He used these skills to inspire other people to get involved in conservation efforts. Early life. John Muir was born on April 21, 1838 in Dunbar, Scotland. His father, Daniel, was a businessman and former soldier. His mother, Anne, was a homemaker, painter, poet, and nature lover. John was the oldest son in a family with 8 children. In 1849, the family moved to Wisconsin in the United States so Daniel could start a farm and earn more money. Daniel was a strict disciplinarian who forced the children to work long hours doing farm labor. He allowed them only one small meal a day. The children's health suffered as a result. John received no formal education during those years, yet he had a deep thirst for knowledge. John rose at 1 a.m. early morning, overjoyed to have 5 extra houses each day to pursue his interests. He studied literature, math, and other subjects on his own. Any free daylight hours were spent exploring the woods and fields around the family farm. During John's teen years, he became an accomplished inventor. He spent part of his early morning time on his inventions, which include weather instruments. A later invention, an unusual alarm clock, pushed him out of bed at a set time. Freedom and connecting to nature. As a young adult, Muir was restless to follow his passion. When he was 22, a neighbor suggested that Muir show his inventions at the 1860 Wisconsin State Agriculture Fair in Madison. The inventions, especially Muir's alarm clock, was a huge hit. Gene Carr, one of the judges and Muir's future mentor, awarded him a cash prize. For the first time in his life, Muir had some independence. Instead of returning home, he decided to stay in Madison and go to college. At college, Muir studied mainly math and science, including botany, the science of plants. In 1863, he left before earning a degree to attend that he called the University of the Wilderness. Muir traveled on foot around Canada and the Midwest, observing nature and taking odd jobs to pay his way. In 1866, Muir took a job working as a mechanic in Indianapolis, Indiana. The next year, a work-related eye injury briefly blinded him. Though he feared he would lose his vision for good, it returned a month later. Muir suddenly realized he wasn't doing what he loved most. He left his job and vowed to spend the rest of his life in nature. Muir took off on September 1st, 1867, hiking about 1,000 miles, 1,609 kilometers to Florida. He traveled along the wildest, leafiest, and least trodden way. He recalled in his writings. He reached the Gulf Coast in just over 7 days later. He fell seriously ill with malaria. The following January, somewhat recovered but still in poor health. Muir boarded a ship to Cuba. He hoped to travel to the Amazon to study the native plants. Instead, he ended up going to San Francisco, arriving on March 28, 1868. He asked someone to show him the closest way out of town. Once the man asked where he wanted to go, Muir replied, "To any place that is wild." The High Sierra. Traveling on foot, Muir headed for California's Sierra Nevada. The natural beauty of the area filled him with wonder. Although Muir was lonely without human connection, he was thrilled to be in the woods and fields. When he faced a choice between people and nature, the call of nature generally won out. Muir's first trip to the High Sierra was short, but he returned the following year. He worked barefoot as a shepherd and later ran a sawmill near Yosemite Falls. Muir spent his free time exploring the land and celebrating nature. He drew inspiration from the writings of Ralph Waldo Emerson, who often wrote about the importance of connecting with nature. In the early 1870s, Muir proposed the controversial idea that the movement of glaciers had curved Yosemite Valley. Muir's fascination with glaciers led him deep into the mountains to search for evidence. And in October of 1871, he wrote an article about glaciers that was printed in the New York Tribune. His idea was later approved. People were beginning to take notice of Muir and his nature observations. Other naturalists traveled to his cabin in Yosemite to meet with him, including Emerson in 1871. Do you know? The area settlers called Yosemite already had a name. Awani Valley, which means gaping, mouth-like places, the homeland of a number of indigenous tribes, including the Awanichi, Miwok, and Paiute people. A band of militia who violently removed many indigenous peoples gave the area the name Yosemite. Nature writer and activist. In 1873, Muir moved to Oakland, California to write magazine articles about his nature observations. He wanted to get his readers invested in natural spaces. In April 1880, Muir married Louis Storetzel. He moved to her family's fruit ranch in Martins, California. Although Muir was a dedicated husband, he wasn't happy with his responsibilities on the ranch. Always restless to be in remote places, he started traveling again with Louis' encouragement. Louis Wanda Strentzel, 1847 to 1905, was the only child of Polish immigrants. He received a formal education and achieved a perfect score in every subject she studied. She was musically gifted and could have been a concert pianist, but preferred a quiet life on the family farm. Louis was supportive of her husband's passion for remote nature areas, but did not share it. She had two daughters, Wanda and Helen. After traveling to Yosemite in 1889, Muir published two articles about the area's beauty and the importance of protecting it. Other people helped Muir by persuading Congress to preserve Yosemite. The following year, Yosemite became the third U.S. national park. Muir and many others knew that an organization was needed to preserve Yosemite and other parts of the Sierra Nevada. Muir helped found the Sierra Club in 1892 and became his first president. The Sierra Club has since become a leading conservation organization. In 1903, President Theodore Roosevelt asked to meet with Muir. He wanted to better understand the needs of remote nature areas in the West. Honored, Muir took him on a camping trip into Yosemite. During the trip, Muir argued the president to set aside the natural lands as parks. As a result, more areas of Yosemite became part of the national park. Roosevelt also set aside many other natural spaces for protection. In his late years, Muir spent more life writing about his travels. He was awarded honorary degrees from 4 universities. Muir also led a 12-year fight to protect Yosemite's Hatchie Valley from being flooded by a proposed dam. Despite efforts to stop the project, including the later Muir vote to Congress, it was approved in 1913. However, the fight raised awareness about the protection of natural lands. It also contributed to the 1916 creation of the National Park Service, NPS. The NPS established stronger management for all U.S. national parks. John Muir died on December 24th, 1914, although he did not live to see the founding of the National Park Service. His efforts helped make it a reality. Do you know? The word wilderness implies that a national space is uncared for and uninhabited. Yet many of the spaces that Muir referred to as wilderness have been inhabited and managed by indigenous peoples since before recorded history. Muir didn't always understand or agree with indigenous strategies for preserving the land. For example, where indigenous peoples have been doing controlled burns, plant fires that keep a forest healthy for thousands of years. Muir thought the only way to protect the land was to prevent any fires at all. Evidence now supports the effectiveness and importance of controlled burns. The Sierra Club today. Joe Muir made important contributions to environmental conservation in the United States. His devotion to protecting natural spaces led to the creation of national parks, which continue to preserve beautiful lands for future generations. Today, the Sierra Club focuses on a wide range of environmental issues throughout the United States, as well as global climate problems. The organization also works with indigenous communities to protect the land and animals, ensuring the places we love to visit stay safe and healthy for years to come.